Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pro Day. We are joined, we're going to start this off. I'm Jarek Wolcott. I'm the Director of Athletic Communications here at UNI. Joined by Jed Smith, Strength Conditioning Coach. We're looking first here at Spencer Brown. He will be doing our 40. Looks like we had about a 4.95. As for a lineman, that's a really strong number.
That's an excellent number, Jared. If that's from our angle, that's what I got. We're not in the ideal position to be able to get a good clock on it.
Yeah, I mean, none of these numbers from up here are going to be, from our perspective, are going to be perfect. They're not going to be official by any means, but we're going to do our best to get some closer numbers as things go. Moving on to Elerson Smith. Elerson had a crazy
41.5 inches.
41.5 inch vertical. I think that's an inch off the D line record. I got a 4.71.
That's probably accurate because that's the time I think I got on him last time I tested him. I'm looking at his 40 time. Yeah, we're right around there.
So again, another strong number there. You look at a bench press of 26 for him just a few minutes ago, and that vertical leap was unreal. I mean, when you look at, he could have hit the ceiling there. We're going to move on to Trevor Allen. Now, the other three guys are three guys that graduated 2019, looking for their shot to get back. They did not have a pro day last year. .471 unofficially for Trevor Allen. And yeah, we're going to confirm these times later. Again, Trevor Allen, running back, graduate last year, had a strong season for the Panthers, but again, no opportunity to really show what he could do in a pro day setting. Jalen James, just a long gait. I mean, Jalen has all that.
4.47 on him. I mean, I think he's right around 4.5 kid. I know we had an electronic time on him here at UNI, and that's a handheld that I just hit him with. But I know electronic time, if I look at our best time on Jalen, was a 4.58 electronic, so handheld would be a little quicker, so that's probably accurate.
And he's got just that long. You look at his gait, you look at his measurables, and he's one of those guys. Jackson Scott Brown, big fella here, getting going.
5.22, that'd be a good time for Jackson.
Again, these time unofficial.
Jackson hit 36 reps on bench in the weight room for the 225 rep out, which was excellent. Actually, the guys did a great job. I don't know if, Jared, if you've got a chance to talk a little bit about some of their scores.
Just going here, we just started, so not a lot into it, but strong performances so far across the board for these guys.
Yeah, Elerson had 26 reps on the bench press. Jackson, 36, like I explained earlier. Jalen James, 20 reps, which is excellent for him. Spencer Brown had 29. They took a few away from him because he didn't lock his elbows out. And Trevor Allen had 19. All of those guys performed real well there. The vertical jumps, very impressive on all the guys. Like we had said before, Elerson Smith, 41.5. Jackson Scott Brown jumping 29-inch vertical. That's excellent for a big guy like that. Jalen James, 34.5. Spencer Brown, 30.5. And then Trevor Allen got 33.5. Trevor.
These guys have been working their tails off. The three, obviously Spencer and Elerson for the past year have been working really hard, but the other two have been, haven't played, graduated 2019, didn't get a shot. Spencer up again for his second.
I wasn't able to get it on there.
Well, didn't really get that. Again, we're kind of at an awkward angle here. These scouts are going to have their own times, and we're going to try to get a little more official from somebody on the ground down there.
And I'm using a cell phone. I should have brought a stopwatch, so when I'm missing it, it's because I'm watching and my thumb misses the little icon.
Elerson Smith for his second.
Again, it's about where he's at. So those are times that we had on him right there. So he's running what he's capable of. That's good.
Again, back to Trevor Allen here. Again, these guys are coming off 2019 season. Graduated, never had a chance for a pro day with all the COVID restrictions. Really getting an opportunity here with these other guys here.
Got about a 4.8 down him on that one.
So a strong run for that running back position. Again, these guys are, you look at the scouts in the stands, we have a record 40, you said 44 NFL personnel here.
I counted, did head count 45 NFL personnel.
When you have two guys that are, obviously combine guys, in Elerson and Spencer, those guys are going to bring the scouts in. And so it also provides a good opportunity for these other three guys that didn't get a chance last year and get an opportunity for every NFL team to see them. And
you can't ask for more if you're Jackson or Trevor, Jalen. That's outstanding.
Now, Joe, tell me a little bit about what these guys did over the summer. Obviously the world kind of ended in March, and then they had the whole summer to really focus on improving themselves. And if you look at
4.57 by the way for Jalen, so he's running really well today.
If you look at the difference in just the body for Elerson and for Spencer, what they look like in the fall compared to what they look like in the spring, it was a transformation. And then the rest of the team they chose to opt out, but the rest of the team was working through the rest of the year while they continued to progress and continue to work on.
Yeah, these guys prepared, which they do all year round. We work really hard to get our guys ready to play for Coach Farley. And I'll tell you, these guys looked amazing when they came into the fall ball. That was a 5.10. I got on Jackson, by the way. That's really good. That's really fast for a big horse like that. So, anyways, these guys worked so hard for their senior years, and all these Elerson, great kid, Spencer, great kid. These guys do everything you ask. And then they got their season cut from them. So they had got to be, honestly, Spencer Brown got up to a 500-pound bench press.
getting ready for this season, which he broke the offensive line bench press record, here this summer, getting ready to play ball. I mean, these guys are strong. Spencer had a 600-pound squat, 360-pound clean. You talk about Elerson. Elerson's numbers are outstanding. A 395-pound clean, which is just shy of a D-line record, which is held by Ben Boothby. So I know he wanted to get up there. I think Ben was like 415, so it was close. Elerson squats about 550 pounds, bench press about 385. So these guys had great numbers in the weight room, and speed-wise, these guys were looking outstanding, and then they got their season cut. So Elerson and Spencer, they didn't want to risk, because they kind of knew that they were draftable prospects, which they absolutely are. They didn't really want to play in the spring, and then risk getting hurt, which you really can't blame them. If they're playing football right now, they wouldn't have the opportunity that they have right now. So the guys continued to work. Spencer went out and worked out in California with his agent and his agent's facility, and Elerson went up to the Twin Cities, and they just continued to work on their craft, and now they're here today. But it's tough, Jared, because when you think about it, then you had Briley Moore who was in their class. Briley Moore ran in the 4.6s at his pro day. And I'm just going to say, you had the best offensive tackle in the FCS right there in Spencer Brown, one of the best all around in FBS. Elerson, again, best in the FCS as a DN, and one of the best in the entire country if you're looking at guys that are going to be coming out. And then you got Briley Moore as a tight end who, you're going to say he's the best in the FCS and one of the top ones coming out of the country. So your little UNI out in Cedar Falls, Iowa, you got three of the best football prospects in the entire NFL, and they didn't get to play their senior year here at UNI. So it's unfortunate, but it's also fortunate for us because that just says a lot about our program here, our coaching staff, Coach Farley, and that football staff that goes out and gets these kids. Spencer Brown came in at about 220 pounds, and they saw an athlete there. They saw a kid who came out of 8-man football who bend and move, and looked like a basketball player. Coach Jake would have recruited him probably and he was a basketball player. And they saw somebody that could end up being that. And so, you got to have a vision to be able to see something. And if you look at the picture of Spencer, it's laughable, and Elerson, laughable. And I know I sent you some of those pictures. So those coaches can see stuff in these guys, and they send them to us in strength and conditioning, and we got to work on developing them. So Elerson came in at 190 pounds, and I don't think he'd ever seen a weight room before. I don't know that Spencer had been in them too often as well. But they responded well, and I'll tell you what, I love the guys that football coaching staff finds. It makes my job easy because they're hard-working, grinding kids. They do what you say, and they get after it. We don't have kids that ever complain or whine. That was pretty much with all our sports around here. I love how we recruit here at UNI. They get a blue-collar kid that's got a chip on their shoulder, and it makes it easy. To work and develop them. So.
Talk a little bit more about that transformation. I mean, they went. You look at those early pictures of both those guys, and they. There's no other way to put it except for they were skinny. They were really skinny.
It'd be funny to put on your live thing if you can flash that. It'd be interesting to have people take a peek at it. What's the question you were going to ask me, Jared?
Just talk about the transformation. I mean, you talk about the amount of weight that Spencer gained in that. I mean, just that first year alone, everything that he had to do to get to where he was a Division I football player, that was pretty incredible.
Well, I mean, first off, it starts with the recruiting. Just like I explained, you got to have the right personality of the kid. You can't take a kid like Elerson that's 190 pounds and turn him into 255 pound, 260 pound DM without the kid wanting to be able to put the work in. Same with Spencer's parents, great folks. So is Elerson's. Spencer grew up on a farm kid, so he knows how to work, and that definitely helps. The work ethic, it's going to be really hard work for those guys in the weight room to be able to put that mass and strength on to make them into Division I and NFL caliber players. It's a grind. It's day in and day out, day in and day out. We go all year round. These kids, we're double day them. So through the winter, that's something that I don't know that a lot of programs do, but Coach Farley and I are on the same page on that, where we'll put these guys through two-a-day programs in the weight room, put mass on them. The diet and the nutrition is as much a part of it, if not more, because you can't outwork poor nutrition. So these kids got to learn to eat properly. We work on their supplementation. I work with some of the top sports nutritionists in the country. One of my mentors, I'm looking at two of my mentors, Dr. Susan Kleiner. She's a mentor of mine. She works with me, helps me with the nutrition, what I call the Nutrition Bible. That's the information we give to these players. And she's, LeBron James, a sports nutritionist, a close personal friend of mine. She works with Michael Phelps. She was Kobe Bryant. She was Bill Belichick for 5 years. She's the best in the business. So without her, I would say I'm not going to be able to provide as much as I can. Dr. Jay Hoffman is another mentor of mine. He played in the NFL offensive lineman for years and is one of the top researchers on strength for football, believe it or not. And he's helped us out a lot here at UNI through the years. Those are two great resources that is really on the sports nutrition supplementation. Without those two, I got to give credit right there, because they've been huge influences. Dr. Mike Stone is another one. But these guys got to follow it. So you can lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink. They have to have the willingness to go that extra step outside of the weight room. So we can control what they do in a weight room, but they've got to control what they do all those other hours of the day. And the nutrition part, these guys got to be diligent. They really have to work on that. And I would say, Jared, that's probably harder than just going through what the strength coach tells you in the weight room. Because I can bark and have them do everything I want them to do when they're there, and the coaches will make sure they're there. Okay? And so they're going to be there, they're going to work. But you're not going to be able to get those results unless they put the time in outside of the weight room to work on that nutritional aspect. And so that's something that I don't know if a lot of people understand. It's not the weight room. There's actually been research on the percent, and it's about 85% nutrition. So without that nutritional plan and program that these guys follow, you're not taking a guy and putting 100 pounds on him like Spencer Brown. And keeping that ability to run like he can and jump like he can.
Tell me a little bit about this drill here. Obviously, you're really getting to a little bit more into their lateral quickness, their turnaround, their agility.
Change of direction. It's just a simple, quick change of direction. Football's a game that, in short, confined space, guys have to be able to make quick movements. You think about the offensive lineman, defensive lineman, running back, starting out. So, you had your 40 just to see what kind of, acceleration they have and what kind of speed. But then when you look at that simple pro agility right there, it's just their ability to decelerate and reaccelerate. So just a quick change of direction. It's a simple drill, but it tells them a lot. And so it's just a footwork drill. Now these kids train for it and practice. There's little tricks to every one of these drills, and we can go over all the little tricks on how you set up a guy to be able to get a better time. So part of it is as well that these guys have trained for it, when they get into the endo that's going to come out, well, they don't know what's coming. So, and I think the coaches, these NFL coaches that are here, they're chomping at the bit because they really want to see what these guys do in unknown drills, okay, and just see how they are, if they're coachable, can they listen to directions and things like that, because these guys have been training for months on these simple drills here. It's changed because it is a business to try to get these kids to be able to do well on the test. But the pop quiz is coming up versus the known test, the known questions. And so, that's the part that, these coaches came out here for. They know these guys are going to be, they're athletes and they're going to do pretty well on these drills.
You've talked to a lot of these scouts, and I've talked to just a handful. When you're talking to them, at least the ones that I've interacted with, they really said that these two, Spencer and Elerson going to that Senior Bowl are going to make a big difference, because in a COVID year, when there's not a lot of interaction between GMs and really upper echelon front office people and the players themselves, that Senior Bowl was an opportunity for that to happen. And they talked about Elerson, they talked about Spencer, and how much, obviously we know what kind of guys they are because we've been around them for 4 years, but how impressive they were at that Senior Bowl, and the improvements that they've made, and just the interviews and their answers and the way they talk. That these two guys are guys that are going to get drafted probably in that second day.
Yeah, no, they definitely will. And the scouts through that Senior Bowl, because it was an awkward year, it was strange. Everything was shut down. Universities weren't letting the scouts necessarily on campus, which saved me a lot of time. Most people don't know this, but if we have a guy drafted, that one guy drafted, it costs me at least 40 hours of talking with scouts. One guy, 40 hours, because you'll have all 32 teams, plus they'll send second scouts and so forth. So if you got two guys drafted, that's 80 hours minimum that I am talking to scouts. And it's just, you think about 2 full work weeks of just talking with scouts, and it's crazy because they come in unannounced. They're like private investigators. They never tell you when they're coming in. So with the COVID year, it was a little different. But in a non-COVID year, they will. This is their MO. They'll show up, and they know you're busy throughout the day, and they'll wait all day until they get the time to talk with you. So you don't know they're coming in, and they'll be like, well, when are you available? And they'll wait, and they'll be like, well, we're not going anywhere. We'll stick around, and we'll wait till you get the free time. So it's, it might be on your lunch break, it might be after work, and it's just, you're spending a lot of time talking to these guys, and they didn't get the ability to do that like they typically could. So that Senior Bowl was real important to them. And to get out and try to talk to these guys at the Senior Bowl, which they went and did, and try to get the scoop on them, to learn about their personalities and so forth, because it was a lot more difficult this year for the scouts to get access to coaches and the trainers and so forth. So, it's just a unique year. And I'm not complaining now because that did save me a little bit of time.
Another drill, they call this the L drill. Chance to see what these guys how they move, how they change direction.
Yeah, and it's just rounding, cornering. You look at a defensive lineman and so forth, trying to get around a guy, turn the corner, make a radius. That's kind of the difference here between this and the pro agility. It's more, can they sink their hips? Can they get around the corner? How quick can they round? And then they've obviously got a loop around the cone at the end. So that's something that's specific to football. And so that's why they designed this drill. Cornering is inside, low, keep their balance. So as you see them around the corner, and that, especially that third cone, guys, that's where they trip up a little bit. It's tough to get around the corner quick. They got to lower that shoulder in their center of mass. And swing the hips around. So it's a little skill. But we're coming up here real quickly to, I think, you know, to be honest with you, Jared, the biggest things that they're going to look at is a vertical jump of 40, and they'll take a peek, but that, I mean, that's, these drills here, you know, they'll look at the numbers, but if they see that the kid's explosive, has some speed, and then the endo drills, that's going to be the main thing. So when they're going to watch their football-specific movements here, and they're going to tell me these guys have no idea what's coming, and then they're also going to test them on their ability to take coaching. So it's going to be, like I said, that's very important to these guys. Can they listen, follow directions? Okay, can they apply what they're hearing? So, and quickly. So that's just their process here. How quickly they can process. So they're going to, this is a different type of test. And I always feel like, you know, it's one of the more important parts of this. People, you know, look at some of the other things, like a 225 bench, and I know that could be important. This right here, this is the football part. And so for me, I just think that this is kind of a big deal.
And this is where, you know, they can get in and really analyze player-specific strengths, their specific weaknesses, maybe something that stuck out to them in film, something that stuck out to them in bowl practice, senior bowl practice, some of the other stuff. Really get an opportunity to see what really excites them or what they're concerned about.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true.
And you know, if you watch and you hear people talk about Elerson's, his speed off the edge is just unreal. He looks more like a track athlete. Oh.
Well, I mean, that vertical jump showed that 41.5-inch vertical. He's explosive, but you look at his clean, and he's, you know, he almost, you know, was breaking the record here at UNI for an athlete in the clean, which is an explosive exercise in the weight room, and it's really the only exercise you do in the weight room that trains that rate of force development like that, where it's just quick, explosive, like you're coming out of your stance, and it's how quickly you can generate, you know, that force, that power. And so if you look at Elerson being up there right around a 400-pound clean and being as tall as he is, the guy who had the record, you know, that he was going for was Ben Boothby, who was about 7 inches shorter. And so that's real impressive for Elerson being as tall as he is and to be able to generate that force like that. So he. It doesn't surprise me. Anybody who can clean that kind of weight is going to be able to get off the ball just rapid. I mean, and so that's where the edge is coming. You know, him and the guy across from him, you know, his reaction and his ability to, you know, put force into the ground so fast that propels him. That's what makes him special. So, and you know, Ben Boothby was a hell of a D lineman for us, and that was, that's the only other D lineman that was up there at that, generating that kind of force in a lift like a clean. You know, like I said, Ben was 7 inches shorter. Makes him a little bit different of an animal because he is so long, very long.
See, and you look at Elerson's numbers. His last year, he just exploded. Was the preseason player of the year going into this season before the fall was canceled. Preseason FCS Defensive Player of the Year by Phil Steele. So he's a guy that has really impressed a lot of people. He's all over our record books despite missing his senior season. So he really had that junior year was pretty special, and it really turned a lot of heads. And then you look at his physical abilities and his measurables, it's interesting because they don't really, defensive linemen, defensive ends don't look like they did 15 years ago. They are, a completely different animal.
Yeah, I mean, it's evolution of sport, so, and it's just little fringe methods that keep evolving and allowing guys to just get a little bit better and keep getting improvement. It's just how sport is. So we're always looking for a competitive advantage, and things evolve. So and that's where the diet, nutrition, training methods come into play. So you're always trying to stay abreast of what's happening and what the research says. You're trying to use empirical evidence to guide your practices and put a best practice in place. So you can help these guys to continue to improve. So, but these are and minus a couple of the other players that left, Chris Kalorovec and Xavier Williams, Briley Moore. These guys, he had 5 NFL players, and which is crazy. 5 guys that are, potential, draftable guys that aren't on this team right now. And I would say, I don't think we ever had 5 guys that were that caliber right there. And then COVID was really hard on UNI. It's hard on everyone, but I mean we had a really good group of athletes that just didn't get a chance to play on that field.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously disappointing with where the team's at right now. I think you look at that defense is still an elite defense. Offense
and you're missing Xavier Williams, Chris Kalorovec, and Elerson Smith, 3 good top defensive players on that team.
You're missing 3 All-Americans, and then you look at Bryce Fager going down with an injury. So you're missing 4 guys that are All-American caliber, and they're still one of the best defenses in the country. It speaks to some of the recruiting that's been done over the last few years, the development by the strength and conditioning staff, and just the coaching by under Coach Farley and Coach Johnson and everything that they've done. Yeah, and some of the stuff that too, I've noticed that they try to wear you out physically and mentally, and then see how you respond. Because obviously it's hard to be a college Division I player, but you go into that NFL practice, and then all of a sudden, you're playing with everybody's as good as the best player you played against.
Out, you can see the clipboards, and this is where everybody's taking notes. I mean, you're looking right here at Elerson. You're not looking at all the NFL scouts, but these guys are taking notes on what they're seeing here at Elerson, how he's responding, how he's moving. They're trying to see what his motor is right here, and just how he moves. And they're taking more notes here than they are the rest of the entire program. So the other components are just taking the number down. Here they're really looking at his body language, how winded he's getting, just how he's carrying himself, how he's able to listen, if he has to repeat himself, just how he can follow directions. So there's just a lot going on in these little drills, and that's what's a lot of fun to me. I enjoy this part. And Elerson's, looking like he's doing pretty well. Obviously he's sucking some wind because he's he's under the gun right now.
Well, and they're pushing him. I mean, I think it would be. I mean, I think they're expecting him to be pushing some wind right now after running through some of the stuff.
Now, I'll be interested to see how Spencer Brown does, because Spencer Brown, he's and even when he's conditioned, he'll push himself in conditioning so hard he'll vomit. So this might be a situation where he's going to push it very hard. There's been a handful of times where I've been working with him, even one-on-one, doing some extra conditioning with him. And he'll push till he finds a garbage can. And so we'll see how he does.
So, and they're pushing, hopefully, or they're trying to get him into places where he's never been, try to put him in a drill that he's never seen before.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it. That's part of the jerk, is they can try to confuse you a little bit. They just want you to be able to respond to whatever the command is. A command response, that's what they're looking for. Boom, do it. Boom, do it. Boom, do it. Okay? And so it's, see, can you follow directions? We told you how to do this. Are you paying attention? Okay? And that's a big chunk of this. Is here's the drill. This is what we want you to do. Now pull it off. So I think they liked what he did. I mean, those two scouts are giving him knuckles. They're happy. He's gassed. That's the hardest part of the entire pro day right there. Now we'll see how these guys do. Spencer and Jackson.
All right, so now we're moving on to these old linemen. Again, these guys are both just ultra strong. Obviously Spencer's got the size and the athletic ability to do some stuff, but you saw. I know a lot of fans saw on Twitter the video of him doing 500 pounds in the bench press. So he just moves. He's got speed, strength, size. I mean, they just don't make. They don't make very many humans that look like Spencer Brown.
No, I haven't seen one come through here. We've never had one of that height and that athleticism. Tell you what, we got a pretty good. One of our assistant coaches, Brandon Keith, in 2008, he got drafted with Chad Reinhardt. He ran a 4.8340 at the NFL Combine at 350 pounds, which he was a pretty dang good athlete there as well. So he holds our offensive line. I believe he's got the 40 record for the old line. But, which is pretty good. I'm going to check and find out what these guys' official times are, but I don't think they were running in the 4.8s. But Spencer's got, 4 inches on Keith height-wise.
And I think he was right at that 4.95 is what I think we clocked him at the first time, and what did he run? What was his digital time before coming in here?
Yeah, I mean I got a 4.2 digital, that's electronic. So we were, and I got to see what the official time is. I was thinking he was going to be around a 5 flat.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to look at.
And if he runs a 5 flat, that's fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is. But for a guy that size. definitely fast enough. So there's nothing, no problem with that. I believe, if I remember right, Chad Reinhardt, when he got drafted by the Redskins, he was right around 5'1". I have to look it up. And that's fast. Hey, Tom Brady, 20 years ago, ran a 5'3". So all our guys are faster than Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean,
Tom Brady did okay for himself.
they also looked better with their shirt off than he did when he was when he was a rookie.
6% body fat, and I'm sure our guys are lower than that too. So.
You look at now, you got Spencer, GSB doing these drills. Jackson Scott Brown, 48 consecutive starts for us. That doesn't happen a lot in Division I football.
I mean, he's just a tough dude.
Character guy.
Yeah, he's got great leadership ability. He's everything you want, in a UNI Panther right there. I mean, he's not afraid to say what needs to be said when it needs to be said. He holds guys accountable, just a class act. And Spencer, would do the same thing. They were kind of cut out of the same cloth. Jackson kind of probably helped Spencer in those regards as well. They're close friends, and I'll tell you what, they were awesome guys to definitely have on a football team. And Jackson, he's just a hard-nosed, tough guy. He bleeds purple. He's loyal as can be. I mean, he's a team guy. It's what you want. So, is he going to be good enough to go on to the next level? Well, we'll see. I mean, you'd like to see him get a chance, because if he does get a chance, I think teams will see what kind of character he is, what kind of good human being he is, but how he has some of those intangibles that that they'll love to have on their roster. I mean, he's going to be a grinder. He's going to be the first guy there, last guy to leave every day. He's a very intelligent kid. He's a student of the game, and he's only going to improve. So if a team takes a chance on a guy like Jackson, I think he's going to be able to stick it out and be around. He just needs a chance. And it's tough because with COVID, how it went down, a lot of guys fell through the cracks, and that's one of them that needs that chance.
Again, they're trying to test these guys mentally, physically, everything on this thing, making sure they're doing everything right, doing everything the first time they tell them. They don't make mistakes. These are all things that they're trying to get across.
Both these two guys are very intelligent. They're not going to have any trouble. Jackson's a grizzly bear there. He's not going to wear out. He's got a motor. Jackson has a motor, and so does Spencer. I mean, they'll go. And I'll tell you what, I like how these guys, it doesn't look like it's phasing them. Doesn't look like it's phasing them at all.
Going back to, the weight room, some of the two things we did there, man, the audible gasp when Elerson jumped, and Spencer jumped 31 and a half, which for a 320-pound offensive lineman, that's
excellent.
That's excellent. And he comes, and then Elerson comes up with a 41 and a half, an extra 10 inches, but he's literally would have touched the ceiling if they didn't kind of move it to a spot where there's a little bit of a gap there.
You know what he told me? His goal was to touch the ceiling.
And he would have touched the ceiling and plus some if he would have.
that's the thing in the weight room. It's been going for a long time, but there's all these players, they want to touch that ceiling. They want to, get to the point where they can touch that ceiling. And we've had players like Sinfield, Doris Fountain, Jalen James. Those guys. That's Isaiah Weston. It's kind of, there's fingerprints up in there, and that's kind of a badge of honor that you were able to touch that ceiling. And it's through the years that's always been the goal. Since I've been here, the kids want to touch the ceiling in the weight room. If they can jump high enough to touch that ceiling, and I never did put a tape measure up to find out how high that was. It's just, who can touch it? Who can touch it?
rejoin in with the audio here. Again, just running through right now offensive line drills, doing some different things, running these guys through the ringer a little bit, pushing them a little bit. Seeing a few different things here. Anything from kind of pass blocking drills to continuing to test their agility, doing some different things, how they look, moving and jumping and continuing to look at their athletic ability. JSB, Jackson Scott Brown, again graduated 2019 after the season. Spencer Brown moving, opting out this year because the season was moved to the spring for the FCS level. But Spencer Brown did go to the Senior Bowl, really improved throughout the week and showed some good things here. You see some different coaches taking the lead on different drills, different teams. All representatives, all 32 teams are here this weekend, and over about 45 total NFL personnel in the building today to check these guys out, see what they're doing. Again, for Spencer Brown and for Elerson Smith, they were combine invites, so this is their portion of the NFL combine. So a great opportunity for those two to really see what they're made of and look at their numbers combined to everybody else. But good showing so far. Spencer, 30 reps on the bench press, 31 and a half on the vertical jump, somewhere around that 4.95 mark on the 40. So a big, obviously, and then you look at his measurables, over 6'8", he got an 82, almost 83-inch wingspan. His weight was measured, he weighed in at 311 today. So 10 and a quarter inch hand. So big hands, big frame, big wingspan. He's just a very large human being. It's kind of hard to put into perspective how big he is, especially at this FCS level. Jackson Scott Brown, who's running through drills with him, a big showing in the bench press, had 36 in the bench press, and he came in weighing about 313. He's in that 6'4", 6'5" range, but he's an Ironman. Started 48 consecutive games for UNI, did a lot of great things, and was part of a lot of wins here in the Unidome. So these are two guys that are really good friends. They're veterans. They've done a lot together and on the offensive line. And then earlier we saw Elerson and what he was able to do and what he was able to show. And I think the other thing we haven't really touched on so far is, for 4 years, Elerson and Spencer went up against each other nearly every day in practice. And so you get those two going at each other who are going to definitely be undrafted, whether it's day 2, day 3, they're going to get drafted, and you got 2 draft picks going against each other every day in practice, and it's going to really make a difference in their development and what they do. So again, continuing through these drills, at the end of this, we're going to have a press conference with these two guys, and so there's an air of excitement here in the Unidome with this many scouts on hand. This is a record for us, having 45 NFL personnel here. Some teams, there's multiple guys from some teams, and just a great opportunity for these guys to really show what they're made of, do some pretty tremendous things. on to some receiver drills and specialty drills. Jalen James, Trevor Allen, both these guys graduated last year, looking to get a chance to show what they can do. Both these guys, physically, Jalen is, a big kid. He's coming in nearly 6'3", 32-inch arms. Caught a lot of balls. Trevor Allen done a lot in the running game, catching the balls out of the backfield as well.
made sure that they're muted, and we're going to use the prompt. So go ahead and use the window of the hand raise reaction, and we will try to work with you on that. I'm going to jump on there. We're going to start off right away with Spencer Brown, and I will also record this and it'll be available on the UNI Athletics YouTube channel after this is completed. Just give me a second here. Let's just go, why don't we go ahead, Nelly, I'm sure you got a question, go ahead.
Thanks, Jerry. Hey, Spencer, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going well. It's fun to be back out there, and it was a good feeling to have play football again after a long time.
Well, so been a long process. Talk about the problems in the last 6-7 months to get ready for this opportunity. Everything else will be launched. You want to get out there and get ready for that.
Yeah, so once the season was canceled, I went to class for a few weeks, and then I went back out there, went out to California like late August. So I was there until December in San Diego, where I was kind of living at, and I was working with Joe Staley, the Pro Bowler for the 49ers forever. Wasn't really looking at combine specifics, anything like that. It was just really just getting my technique sound and growing. I'll be the first to say my technique's not where it needs to be, and just working with him, the run game and pass pro stuff, and then just working out in general. And then once January hit, when I went back to California after Christmas, I moved up to Irvine, which is south side of LA, and that's where I started getting into the combine specifics, the drills, the jumping, the bench, everything like that, but still also working technique, the Senior Bowls, late January. So just kind of hitting all the categories, and after the Senior Bowl was over, that's when I dove into the combine specific stuff.
How'd it go today?
It went well. It's kind of a nerve-wracking day, and I'm sure everybody could agree with that. It's kind of awkward doing all these drills, stay quiet, only person talking is the one, putting the drills on, and it's just stay quiet, all eyes on you. So a little nerve-wracking, but it was a fun experience. I'm getting back at it, guys that I played with, Jalen James, Trevor Brown, Jack Scott Brown, and then obviously Elerson was here as well, so it's good to kind of get around those guys again and be in the dome one last time.
Scott, go for it.
What's this process like for you? I mean, going to the Senior Bowl, just being in you kind of shoot up the grab charts. What's that like for you last, couple months, especially after
Yeah, I mean, it's a super, super great opportunity to go to Mobile, to be in the presence of Joe Staley, to have a great agency of Rep 1 support me and doing everything right that will put me in this position to be successful. So I'm just really grateful to be in this opportunity and be around the group of guys, and I think I'll compete at a higher level that I've thought about for a really, really long time, and I'm dream coming true and unfolding before me. So it's very humbling, but I'm very grateful.
feedback we've got from scouts and other NFL type personnel as
of these coaches and just learn the technique and doing it the way they want it to be done. Doesn't really matter what I think, it's what they think. So anything I do or anything they want me to do, that's the way I do. And it's just really awesome to see these coaches here and just incorporate things that they want to see me grow on. Just being there and then motivating me is a really awesome experience.
Andrew?
Yeah, it's been brought up in numerous conversations, brought up today, it's been brought up in all the interviews I've been a part of. I just played right tackle up at the right side in high school, so it was just natural for me. And then Cal's weight, the All-American was older than me when I got here, so he played left tackle, and he graduated, the younger guy just played left tackle, so it was more of a comfort thing for me and those guys. I've had reps at left tackle, that's what I told them, and that's just something I need to put in my bank because the best ability is availability. So being swing tackle or being able to do both is a